Did I understand you say you was the Army Air Corps?
Correct.
It didn't really matter what you was in when the shooting started, probably, but.
He was in the kitchen.
Well, I'll start from the beginning. That morning, we were in our small mess hall, not the big one. And we were redecorating for Christmas. And we had a air compressor in the dining room. And we were not feeding, but we did have a temporary field stove for us KPs to make our meals. So that morning, it was roughly 10 minutes to 8, and my friend Alex says, Ed, if you'll clean us up a frying pan, and those scoundrels last night came in here and raided the refrigerator, and they messed up every pot and pan in the mess hall. Now you clean us up a frying pan, I'll start the air compressor and the fuel stove, and we'll have breakfast. I said, okay. So he started the air compressor, and I'm scrubbing out a frying pan, and all of a sudden I hear a boom. I looked around at that air compressor, and I kept on cleaning this pan, and another boom, a little bit louder. Now I'm a little bit concerned about this air compressor. Is this thing going to blow up or what? And about that time I heard the most horrible explosion you could imagine. And it came from outside and up the street to my right. And I went to the back door, looked up the street. Hangar 7 and 9 were blowing up. I mean, debris was flying everywhere. And out of the corner of my eye, straight across the street from me, was Hangar 2 and 4, which had just been completed. And I saw guys running out of the hangar. And then I saw asphalt kicking up. You know, what in the world is, and then I see the plane. Here comes a Japanese Zero straight at me, firing. But fortunately there were some high electrical wires, and the building I was in, the building was about 15 feet high, and the electrical wires were about 30 feet high maybe. Well, this guy comes strafing along, and he had to pull up to miss both the electrical wires and the building. And as he went by, I looked up, and that son of a bitch was looking down at me like, I almost got you. But he did miss me. So now I'm hollering for my friend Alex. Alex is nowhere to be found. He's gone. 2 weeks later, he showed up. Somehow or another, he got tangled up with some artillery outfit, and he wound up halfway between Hickofield and Honolulu. But he made it back, and he was all right. So anyway, I ran outside, and of course, I'm dumbfounded. You just can't imagine your feeling. You don't have any, really. I'm looking all around at all these damn planes flying around and all the shooting and bombing that's going on. And I'm standing out there in the wide open, and some guy reaches out and grabs me by the shoulder and, you dumb idiot, get under the shelter here before you get killed. Now, the overhang of the barracks that we lived in were wooden barracks. And there was an overhang, and there was a bunch of guys under there, and he pulled me under there. Well, just as we got under there, here come another strafer, and he took off about 2 inches of the eave of that building that we were standing under. That's number 2. I got away with it. Now, I don't want anything to do with the mess hall anymore. I want to get back to duty, see if I can help somewhere, because we're not feeding in our mess hall. I'm not needed there. So actually, I was in a trucking company. The correct title of my organization was the 13th Quartermaster Truck Company Aviation. We actually belonged to the Air Corps. So I went to the motor pool. And I said to the dispatcher, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? He says, grab a truck, get up on the hangar line, and help out where you can. Well, it just so happened by the time I got to the motor pool, all the vehicles were gone except a couple of step cars and a couple of pickup trucks. So I took a pickup truck. That I went up Hanger Avenue and I got up to the big barracks. Some guy come out in the middle of the street waving his arms and stuff. You gotta come help me. I said, who are you? He says, I'm a medic and we got wounded in here. We have to get them to the hospital. So that's what we did. Now I'll tell you, when you, I don't know if any of you veterans were medics or not. If you were, then you know what I went through with arms missing, stomachs ripped open, faces smashed in, and half of the faces missing, and intestines flowing out on the ground, and it was a horrible thing to try to pick up some of these people, but you know, you have to get a little emotional now and then. I'm talking about this, but we had the fire station and the guardhouse was hit, and we had prisoners in the guardhouse, mostly drunks and guys that misbehaved. Well, they blew the cells open and the prisoners all came out, but they didn't do what you think they might have done. They jumped in and they helped the fire department. And every one of them, they did something in the way of helping. But I lost 2 friends that day, actually 3. They weren't what I would call close friends, but they were very good acquaintances. And of course, I was a little devastated to know that they had passed away, been killed. And that all took place. Now, this was in the second attack. The first attack was over with by the time I got down to the motor pool and got a truck. But the damage that was done at Hickam Field is it's just too horrible to even think about anymore. The barracks, I was showing some pictures here in the book, the $1 million barracks that was built that housed 3,200 men. And now that mess hall that we had in the big barracks was large enough that you could put 6 basketball courts in it. And they fit 3,200 men 3 times a day, every day. A lot of people to feed. Thank goodness I was not on KP there. But there was a couple of funny things happened at the same time. The Japanese had quite a extensive piece of information as to what buildings were at Hickam. For instance, the control tower on the base had a basement, and the officers' club was not built yet. So they used the basement of the control tower for the officers' club. It was never touched. They knew it was the officers' club. Why bother? But then the baseball field and the aviation gasoline storage. The aviation gasoline was supposed to be here, the ball field over here, Main Street here. At the last minute they switched it and put the ball field over here and the aviation gas over here. The ball field was destroyed. The aviation fuel was not touched. And so that was kind of comical. The rest of the day after the second attack and things died down a little bit, we still had a lot of work to do. We had to take the more seriously wounded from Hickam Field down to right near Fort Shafter, the main hospital military in Hawaii was called Tripler General Hospital. And that's where we took the most serious wounded, the burns and broken bodies. Well, actually, I think I've told you just about as much as I can of what I did that day. However, there's one other item I might mention. I didn't get into a bed for 3 days. I caught naps in the truck, and I lived on hardtack and water for 3 days. Never had a meal. Believe me, I was hungry. But anyway, that about sums up what I did that particular day. And the rest of the war, I was in Hawaii, Marshall Islands, Solomon Islands, and that's about it. The rest of the time I was involved in a couple of bombings that Jeffs tried to do, but Kwajalein and Canton Island and the Solomons, when they did bomb us, they didn't do that much damage. It was just to annoy the whole outfit, keep you awake all night if they could. That's about the end of that. But I would like to tell you a little something about the Arizona. And not being Navy, you might be surprised I know this, but I'm kind of like Tom here. I study World War II history, quite a bit of history, as a matter of fact. And I was telling Tom, I did not find out this until he told me today, but I was told many years ago, when my wife and I first went to Hawaii, we were not military, so we could not get into a base. And so downtown Honolulu, they had a little cruise ship, or boat, small one, and they would take you into Pearl Harbor. They had the authority to do this. And they would take us around to each ship that was damaged, sunk, or whatever. And we got to the Arizona. And the memorial was not complete. It was being built. But the announcer on the boat, he said, now, the Arizona is laying here on the bottom of the Pearl Harbor, and there's 1,177 sailors that were killed that day are still in this ship, and they never will be removed. They are there forever. And another thing is, the Arizona has never been decommissioned. She never will be decommissioned. Because you see, her crew is still aboard. I apologize.
It's okay.
I can't help it. I just get so sentimental over this, but thanks, babe. So that'll about conclude my little talk. If anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer them.
You have a seat and we'll do some questions.
Oh, all right.
I'd like to do something first.
Yeah.
Oh, thank all of you. That's very nice. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna start it off. I got a question for you. After you realized that Pearl Harbor had been attacked the day after, what were you thinking? Were you thinking that it might be over, or what was the state of the mind of our military at that point in time?
You know, that's a hard question to answer because I don't remember exactly what I thought. I guess every one of us was wondering if we were going to be invaded or if they were going to come back for another bombing. That's about all I can think of that I thought in those days. Of course, we were all still scared. Of course, you know, that night there was a bunch of Navy planes had been out on patrol, and they came in along about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and our people opened up on them and shot down 6 of our own planes.
Wow. I guess, you know, the fear like that, you don't know. You know, you don't know. We appreciate you sharing your story with us and all. We'll take questions from the audience. Anybody have a question they'd like to ask Ed? We waited 75 years to get a donut. How'd the donut taste?
Good. If you guys will ever let me eat it.
I can't say much for the coffee because a fellow Arminville made that coffee. You know, that's one thing. You said you've been back to Pearl Harbor 15 years, 15 times during the anniversaries and all. Of course, this year you missed Gary Sinise. He's there. So I think he was there last year too, though, wasn't he?
Say it again?
Gary Sinise, you know, Lieutenant Dan, the Lieutenant Dan band. He does a lot for our military and all. He's there this weekend. I saw that. He's a buddy of mine. So.
I don't know.
You don't know him. You should. He's a good guy.
Yeah, no, I don't know the man. Never met him.
He's a movie star. Played in Truman and played in
CSI.
Apollo 13.
Yeah.
and
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump's what he's known for.
Yeah.
But he has the Lieutenant Dan band. He was Lieutenant Dan that lost his legs and all. If you ever saw Forrest Gump, so.
Now, I saw something about somebody that lost his legs. Must have been the same guy. Of course, there was a lot of guys lost their legs in Pearl Harbor that day, too.
That's exactly right. Well, I saw the movie Pearl Harbor. Have you ever actually watched a film, or do you bring yourself to do that?
Tora, Tora, Tora?
I saw that one too.
Oh, yeah, I watched Tora, Tora, Tora. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of it at home.
Yeah. Would you say it's fairly accurate?
Tora, Tora, yes, was the most factual movie that I've seen yet, other than the documentaries. But there's one scene. I don't know how many of you people have seen Tora, Tora. Do you remember a scene where the captain comes in and the guy behind the desk says, "You wanted confirmation? There's your confirmation." All the ships blowing up and on fire. And
Master Sergeant, yeah.
he wanted confirmation. He got it.
Well, if I remember correctly, they thought it was a flock of birds on the radar screen. I mean, radar was still kind of new, but I mean, that's a lot of birds.
Well, I don't know where that came from, but the real story of that is these two guys were working the radar, which was brand new, and they were learning. And they spotted this group of planes coming in from the north. And when he called headquarters at Fort Shafter and told them about it, the lieutenant in charge there says, "Oh, it must be that group of planes coming in from California, B-17s, they were supposed to arrive, and they did, right at the height of the attack." And if you remember Tora, Tora, the guy, commander in the plane says, "What a hell of a way to start a war. No guns, no ammunition, no nothing." And they had one B-17, I don't know if you guys know this, not one B-17 landed on a golf course out at a place called Kahuka Point. It was a golf course. That's where he landed.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
You ever seen the movie Air Force?
Pardon me?
Have you ever seen the movie Air Force?
No, I've not seen that
You
yet.
need to go get that. It's an old movie. It's a black and white movie, but it's about the planes that they fly in, take all the emergency
Yeah,
places that they go. They
Yeah.
go like 10 different places. One of them was a golf course, and they send them to Midway. Midway sends them on someplace else.
mm-hmm. Yeah, they had those 17s scattered all over the place,
Yeah.
trying to land. They were out of fuel. They were just about ready to crash from the lack of fuel.
Yep.
But they all did get down, even though they were damaged. And I have a picture of one in this book here, that after he landed, the plane was hit, and the, whatever, it was machine gun fire or cannon, whatever, hit the fuse box inside the, or the flare box inside the airplane, burned it half in two. And there's pictures of it in here. One section's over here, another section's over there. But it's sitting there. But the crew got out safely. They were not hurt. And that was good. This is quite a book I have here. It really is. There's a lot of true stuff in it too. Well, actually, it's all true. So anybody else got a question they'd like to answer?
In the back.
I missed the first part.
you was on KP duty, you said?
Yeah.
When it happened? How did you know, did you see when the planes came in, can you go back over that again? How did you know that? Did you saw the Jap insignias on the planes? How did you know the Japanese planes?
When he flew over and I looked up, there was a red ball in the wing, one on the fuselage.
He's shooting at you.
And he was shooting at me.
That's a pretty good engagement right there.
Yeah.
And they were
the part
blowing up the hangars.
that got me was, when I looked up to see what it was, I saw the pilot. And he's looking down. I don't know if he was looking at me or if he was looking at the electrical wires that he had just missed, or just what he was looking at, but he was looking down. I thought, well, he's looking at me and laughing. So,
Anybody else?
Right here.
Oh, yeah.
Sir, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for your service. Welcome home. And it's an honor to be here on this day with you, man. It really is. The question I have is a little bit outside of everything else, okay? It's maybe some advice that I can get from you. What advice would you have for me? I'm very concerned about my country. I like the way that we got some hope. We got, no matter what your opinions are, political views and all that, what the younger generation, what advice would you have for us to help keep America what it is and what it should be?
now, you just asked one hard question.
I'm looking for the answers.
You know what? I'm looking for the answer too. No, I think the best thing we can do is support our government the best that we can, even though we may not agree with it. We still have the best government in the world. And even at my age, I would still defend it. And I love this country.
Will you tell us how old you are?
He's at least 75.
Well, yeah, that was his birthday. I'm probably had 22.
The sound is on.
Okay, the sound is off, she's telling me. Let me see here if we had test, but we might have turned it on.
Test, there we go.
There you go.
Oh,
See, it's like a woman, you can turn her on, you can turn her off. You gotta ask, I mean, you push the right button. I normally turn them off, I don't know why, but I'll tell you one thing, I can still turn the shower on when I get naked, huh?
well, along that line, I met this girl one night and actually, I went into the bar and I sat down and there was one seat left and this lady came in, she sat down next to me. And I looked at her, hey, she's pretty nice looking, maybe I can make out here. And I said, well, good evening, pretty lady. I said, could I buy you a drink? Her head snapped around and she looked at me up and down and she says, you trying to pick me up? I says, no, dear, I'm picking you out. But it didn't work either.
Now, see, I can give you some tips on that, over the next 20 years. I'm good at that, I do some dating sites and stuff.
I really do need some help, because I've been married 5 times. And I outlived 3 wives and divorced 2.
Don't get married no more.
Oh, that's your advice? I'll take it.
I think he's old
No,
enough to
it-
figure that out for now.
What was that?
So I think you're old enough to figure that out for now.
Yeah.
Are you old enough to figure that out by now?
Well, I think so. If I'm not, I'm in trouble. He asked me a minute ago how old I am. I'm 93.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Young.
I was 18 years old the day that well, it was not my birthday, but I was 18 years old when December the 7th, 41 happened.
Now, he says he's from South Carolina. Will you tell us a little bit about your decision to join the military? What prompted you and what made you choose the Air Corps?
Well, actually, I didn't choose the Air Corps. When I enlisted, they assigned me to the quartermaster's, which is, all you military people know, the quartermaster supplies the whole army. But then I transferred up to Hilton Field into the trucking company, which oh, it's off again, huh?
Leave that woman alone.
And I transferred up to Hickam Field into a trucking company, which actually belonged to the Air Force. And later on,
He didn't do it that time.
I don't know.
It might be the battery cutting out.
it could be, I'm trying to stay away from the switch.
Yeah.
So,
I try to stay away from them too.
anyway, a little later on, I transferred into a supply department.
His battery's dead. Do we have another battery?
We can.
Okay,
We can hear it
you.
fine.
Go ahead, I'm gonna see.
What size batteries you need? I'll go get them.
I have no idea. Triple A? I think or double A.
Double A.
Double A. Are y'all enjoying this? This is pretty neat. This is something I'm gonna cherish the rest of my life, because World War II veterans, to me, both my grandfathers served and all, and I found it inspirational. Reading the stories, I think it was a turning point for America. I mean, people were frightened because we lost our Navy fleet. I mean, if you look at our military might, we were weak. We could have packed it in and said, you know what, we better strike a deal to stay alive, but we didn't. As a country, people rallied, factories became,
You betcha.
and the morale of the country, to me, it's the greatest generation ever.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Yeah.
Well,
Of course, Yamamoto said, after the attack, he said, I'm afraid we have awakened a sleeping giant. Because he was educated at Harvard. Harvard.
We don't say it like that back home.
Harvard.
That's right.
Harvard.
He's from
But
South
anyway,
Carolina.
Yamamoto said the power of the United States is awesome. And he also said that they would have the advantage for maybe a year, and after that, he didn't know.
I think he knew.
Oh, I think he did.
I
too.
think he knew. And the way America responded, I mean, we showed the whole world. I mean, and that's the sad thing. If you look at our military ever since, we've been going backwards. I mean, we haven't had the leaders. We haven't
Isn't
had
that
the
the
morale.
truth? Oh, that is the truth.
It is. It's sad, but if we could recapture the patriotism, the heart, the fight of your generation, we can learn a lesson. You were asking the gentleman over there earlier what we can do. We can rally. That's what we can do.
We don't
Yes,
have
sir.
a fourth, as far as population goes, we don't have a fourth of what we had in 1940.
Thank you.
true. That's true.
Yeah, I was in the Navy and I was Vietnam, so it was a different period. And I think it's important to know that that was a very big, like I say, we lost our entire naval force, but we also learned a lot after that attack.
Oh, did we ever?
We learned that you don't have Battleship Grow anymore. And Battleship Grow and all these battleships were just lined up one right after another and hit one and took everything out. You don't ever see a port with a Navy ships like that anymore.
No.
We were anchored here, we were anchored here, and that was all learned from Pearl Harbor. And I remember when I was in Japan, we stopped in Japan and I took a tour of Nagasaki, where the second atomic bomb was dropped. And our guide there had been in the Japanese Navy during the Second World War. And he told us how powerful the Japanese Navy was during the Second World War. But of course, they were very powerful, but of course they were so powerful they lost. But that was the thing with them. I think people have to understand that we learned a lot from Pearl Harbor. And until the fire on the forest off in 1967, that was the big loss we had, naval loss, because they totally wiped out our fleets. And Japanese made some mistakes in that attack too. That's a whole other story.
Well, it was my understanding there was supposed to be a third round and they called it off. Is it not correct?
No, I don't think. There was Japanese pilots wanted to,
Okay.
but the admiral said, no, we've done what we were supposed to do, and it's time to go home. We don't know where the American submarines are. So that's why they left.
Actually, it was the American carriers they couldn't find.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they couldn't find, and that's what basically stopped the third attack, if there was gonna be one.
And not only that, we couldn't find them either.
Everybody likes KP.
But you know, the thing that got me about this whole attack was that general short that we had for the Army In my opinion, that man was an idiot.
Ego.
Now, we were on maneuvers, and we had all of our planes dispersed all over the field, pointing in different directions. There's no way they could have been destroyed at one time. And this guy called us off of maneuvers with all of this trouble going on between the United States and Japan. And all the correspondence that he had from Washington, like one thing he got was they did not want to disturb the civilian population, but take whatever steps you need to protect the islands. Well, what did he do? He called off maneuvers, which would have been a good protection to stay on maneuvers. We'd be ready. Then he wanted to bring all the planes up and line them up, wingtip to wingtip. And I always said to myself, that was idiotic. He could have left those planes out there, dispersed as they were, the crews of the planes and the maintenance people of those planes could have acted as guards to protect them. His idea was line them up wingtip to wingtip on the ramp up there by the hangars, and we can guard them much better. And I always thought that was a stupid move.
He was worried about sabotage.
Huh?
He was worried about sabotage because there was
Oh,
so many
yeah.
Chinese.
There was no call for him to be that way because there was never anything that would even imitate espionage around the islands. They even allowed one Japanese to fly around the island and take pictures of Pearl Harbor and everywhere he wanted to.
Wow.
And of course he was a spy for Japan, and that's where they got a lot of their information about where everything was in the island. But I think General Short was, my opinion, he was a
He fell
stupid
short,
man.
yeah. He fell short.
Short-minded.
Now, I'm gonna throw another joke at you here real quick. You know, maybe.
You are a joke.
Well, I am. It's better to be funny than it is to be serious, I can tell you. But the thing is, I guess Donald Trump might be smart. He probably is smarter than some of these generals.
He may be, but he's not as smart as he thinks he is.
Well, I'll agree with that too. But some of these generals we sit there and we look at, and I know when I was in my military career, I mean, I was like, why do we have to go out and walk around the Adirondacks for a 100-mile road march, you know, just to say we've walked 100 miles? That was the dumbest thing I thought we ever did. And then somebody came up with the term light infantry, and I'd like to meet that son of a gun. There was nothing light in our infantry. We carried everything they issued us, you know. It wasn't light. So, do we have any more questions? Ms. Davis?
Hi, well, first of all, thank you for your service. My father was World War II veteran, Navy commander.
He wasn't short, was he?
No.
I'm just asking.
Davis.
And my uncle was also a pilot in World War II. He was actually slated to go drop the atomic bomb, but because his only brother was also serving, they took him off of that suicide flight, which they thought was. Regardless, I've been a 25-year veteran advocate. I'm not a veteran myself. I am married to a wonderful man who is also a Navy veteran, nuke engineer. But I'm curious as to what our greatest generation, I don't know if you know we refer to you as this, as our greatest generation, what you think about all these wars we've had since World War II, and whether it's, obviously war is ugly, but how we've handled them. I look at all of our wounded heroes that come home to us. To us, they're heroes. I realize to each other, the ones that don't make it home are your heroes. But what your thoughts are on these wars. I look back at Vietnam and the way our Vietnam heroes, our Vietnam era veterans were treated when they came home. It's just absolutely deplorable, disgusting.
It is horrible.
Yeah. I just was wondering what your thoughts were, because my father passed away 25 years ago, and I would ask him these questions if I could.
Well, first of all, I thought the Korean War and the Vietnam War was unnecessary to start with. There's no way you're going to stop communism by war.
Right.
No way. And I thought it was a waste of humanity in every shape and form. Now, you were talking about your father in the service. Well, I got a little piece of news for you. As you know, I fought in World War II. My father fought with Pershing in World War I. My grandfather fought with Teddy Roosevelt in the Spanish-American War. My great-grandfather fought with General Lee in the Civil War. It just seems that
Y'all like to fight.
my family can't get along with anybody.
I wasn't expecting that. Did somebody get that recorded? Because I wasn't heard that yet. That was good.
We were talking about that yesterday, and I was telling him about, you know, how my family goes all the way back to the Civil War, and that's how I actually learned that women fought in the Civil War, was by reading Civil War letters from my family, you know, and I knew women had fought in the Civil War, but, you know, they fought as men. As soon as they found out they were women, they sent them home, you know, and that didn't happen in Kentucky, you know. The Union Army came in and killed all the men in the village and all the young males, and the women responded by telling the Kentucky Regiment, we're fighting them or we're fighting you, what's it going to be? And so they allowed them to join the Confederate Army as female soldiers, and they fought, you know, very rewarded, you know, so it was kind of neat for my family. But the thing is, there's some interesting views against the war. Now, what do you feel about after September the 11th? Would you elaborate on that war?
Well, that's about what it was, a war. Well,
Do you see that as the same as like being bombed at Pearl Harbor?
yeah, that was you could compare it that way. I'm against all of these people coming into this country illegally.
Thank you.
I don't care what nationality they are. You remember back in the early 1900s, all the immigrants that came to this country from Europe, they were all legal. What do you have today? You have people coming into this country. It seems like they just get on the plane and fly in here and nobody does anything about it. And we have immigration laws. Why in the hell weren't they enforced to start with? When the first illegal was found, why not either shoot him or...
That's that fighting side of it.
He gets along with nobody, remember?
That's right.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you what I'm really for, and I really mean this. I'm not just talking through my hat. I really mean this. I think we should line up a bunch of people, a bunch of soldiers down there at that Mexican border, and anybody that crosses the center of the Rio Grande, shoot him.
Okay, it's protecting our nation.
Now, if he wants to come to this country and come in legally through an immigration station, fine. I have no qualms about that whatsoever, but I do hate these people that come in here illegally and then make demands.
How do you feel about those that coming in from other countries, if they serve in our military, that they'll be granted?
If they served in our military,
Yes.
I think they should be granted citizenship.
For how long in the military would you think would be a good thing to say that yes, you are American and yes, you
At least 3 years,
Okay, I was just curious.
at least.
Yeah, interesting.
And I think that would prove them to be a worthwhile citizen.
Okay.
We could weed them out, couldn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have them be in prison there, wouldn't they?
Just like all my wives weeded me out.
You gotta keep trying now.
Yeah, I've got to keep trying.
You gotta keep trying. Does anybody have some questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, what do you think reportedly the president's spokesman said that the World War II vets should get over themselves?
What?
I think he's a damned idiot.
That's right.
And I think somebody should shoot this son of a bitch. But I have to say this. When Obama ran the first time, I was against him. And I wouldn't vote But then my wife said, well, you're a racist. I said, no, I'm really not a racist. I just don't like blacks. No, I'm really not a racist. I was at one time, many years ago, when I lived in the South. You had to be, or you didn't exist either. But that's neither here nor there. But the wife said, when he ran the second time, well, we ought to re-elect him, and I'm going to vote for him. I said, you are? I says, well, I'm not. I didn't vote for him the first time. I'm not going to vote for him now. Why not, Ed? For God's sakes, give the man a chance. He's only been in there 4 years. He hasn't had a chance to really do what he wants to. Give him a chance. Like an idiot, I took a word and voted for him. I regretted that.
Is that what caused the divorce?
No, she passed away.
Got to give the man credit. He did exactly what he said he would do many, many times.
Yes.
I'm going to change.
Fundamentally changed.
Yep, he did.
And he certainly has. We all sat there and listened to that BS.
Yep.
And very few people stood up and said, wait a minute. We don't even know if this man is a United States citizen, if he was to school here or what. All right? And so we elected a person we knew
Absolutely nothing about.
And let him do his thing.
Which makes me think of another little
And we're
joke.
now paying the dues.
Yes.
I'll help him.
Oh,
Mr. Parker.
there they are.
We're trying to. It's getting a little wild up in here.
You don't have to move.
Now, we got a little special surprise for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, we have Mayor Oscar Goodman will be joining us momentarily, so.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you,
I was told.
You told him.
I told you.
You told him on the phone.
Did I? Okay, well, I guess loose lips sink ships or
It
something like
wasn't
that.
me, don't worry.
Okay, well, Jim Parker's in the house. He's a World War II veteran. Thank you for your service, sir. He was a pilot. Now, see, I was in infantry and I was a pilot too. A lot of times they'd say, take that helmet right there and pilot up in that corner. Did you do some of that too? I did my share of KP. But let me tell you, one thing I found out about KP though is occasionally the officers would get donuts. And I don't know how they got donuts, but we didn't get donuts. But when I worked KP, we got donuts. But the donuts are pretty good though, I think, so.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We're gonna, any other questions for, yes, sir, in the back.
I was always curious as to what the real morale was there in Hickam.
Well, the morale was we were all mad as hell. And we were fighting mad, that's where we were. But we had nothing to fight with that day. As a matter of fact, my first weapon was a .45 automatic pistol that I took off of a dead lieutenant. And then about 4 days later, they unlocked the rifle racks and I got my rifle. Never fired it though.
Thank you.
Whenever you saw the Japanese, did you see the actual American planes that got up and flew there in Pearl Harbor while they were being attacked?
No, I never did. And the only reason I knew they were there was because I was told they were there. And all the reports that were made and the news the next couple of days, they talked about the pilots that got up and shot down some planes. There was like 3 of them, I believe it was. They got 1 each. Taylor and Welch got 4 each. I think there was like between 4 pilots, I think they shot down something like 11 Japanese planes. Of course, there was a total of 29 shot down. We did get 29 of them, but that wasn't very many out of 300 and something.
No, but at least it was a start.
Yeah, that's about all it was.
That's all right.
Did-
No, this is fine.
After the attack, did you guys have phone lines that you could call back to the mainland and talk to family or anything like that?
I don't know, I don't.
Only the privileged.
Of course.
So you regarding KP then?
No, I was through with KP then.
Yeah. Does anybody else have a question for Mr. Hall? Yes, sir.
What do you think about the women in our service now, because they're graduating as they can go into Rangers, Airborne, and everything? The thing is, why I ask is, I have a daughter in the service for 14 years now. She's a commander in the Navy, and, you know, we're pretty proud of her. She's come up from, you know, just from nothing, and she's commanding officer of a reserve unit in Germany, and we're just, how do you feel now that you see it evolve it where now they can carry their own weapons and everything? Because my daughter did, she was in Iraq and Afghanistan, and, you know, and I always ask her about carrying weapons. And she says, you know what, I could throw that pistol at someone and hit her more than if I could shoot them. So, she's a good kid, but like I say, it's, I was just wondering what you think about that now.
Well, I think it's great that women are involved. You take, for instance, in Russia, World War II, there was a lot of women that fought for Russia. And I see nothing wrong with the women being in the military in this country, because they are well trained. They're well trained just as the men are. So there's no reason they shouldn't fight if they want to. In Honolulu, down by the YMCA, where all the military caught their buses, taxi cabs, and so forth back to their bases, there was across the street was a restaurant called the Black Cat Cafe. And I have a menu from, let's see, that was from 1943. Now you could get hotcakes, didn't say how many, but you get hotcakes for a dime. A waffle was 15 cents, oatmeal was 15 cents, ham, bacon, or sausage and eggs, buttered toast, and hash browns would cost you all of 35 cents. Now the most expensive thing on the menu was a porterhouse and mushrooms for $1.
Wow.
And this thing goes on and on, and I just thought I'd mention that because of the price disparity. Of course, you have to remember the money that was being made in those days. Like us poor privates, we only made $21 a month, so it didn't go too far.
That puts $1 million barracks in perspective though.
Yes, it puts $1 million barracks in perspective.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it does. Yeah, they were building this Hickam Field. They bought 222 acres, and they paid us a little over $1 million for the whole works. Now, that was quite a buy.
And that was a steal.
And of course, the barracks, as I said, they cost just a little over $1 million to build those big barracks. But by the way, there was 9 wings to that building, and each wing was 3 floors high. And we had everything in that building you could possibly think of. Post exchange, laundry, dry cleaners, barber shops, and I think there was 2 barber shops. And, no, we didn't have a bar. Oh, there's one thing I didn't tell you. We had a wooden building that was for the enlisted men. It was the beer hall. Would you believe that beer hall was a victim of a direct hit of one of the Japanese bombs?
No wonder you were mad.
You should have seen the guys in the afternoon after things quieted down. They were raiding that place. They was, what are you doing? Oh, we were salvaging the beer. Yeah.
That is a recovery effort.
Well, now, where did you do your basic training?
Langley Field, Virginia. Oh, there's something interesting.
See, always works.
Yeah. Today's people in the military, the majority of them fly whenever they're assigned overseas or different parts of the country. They fly all the troops everywhere. Well, when I went enlisted and asked for duty in Hawaii, he sent me to Langley Field, Virginia for a while, up to Brooklyn Army Base for a couple of weeks. Then they put me on the Army Transport Leonard Wood, sent me down to, we stopped in Charleston, South Carolina, picked up some people. And we stopped in the Panama Canal, let those people off, and we took on some that were discharged and went up to San Francisco. Now, that going through the Panama Canal, to me, that was one of the greatest adventures I'd ever had in my life. I never thought I'd ever see the Panama Canal, but that was some trip. And I think today, of course, we went to San Francisco, out of the Golden Gate Bridge, and we came back out and went to Hawaii. Now, I had a great time. We had movies every night out on the deck. Of course, our sleeping quarters were something to be. They could have been much, much better, but that's another story. We won't go into that. But I enjoyed that trip, and I think about the military today. They fly all over the world. They don't get the experience that I had, and I think they're missing a lot. But that's their lot. That's what they have to do. Next question.
Does anybody else have a question? I'll ask him another one. How did you become a KP?
Well, I was permanent KP.
Right, you pissed somebody off. Would it be that Commander Short by chance?
No, what it was, the company commander and powers that be, somebody suggested that there should be permanent KPs and pay them extra.
Oh, wow, you got a couple extra dollars you're holding out.
So I said, I'm here. I volunteered.
Beer fund.
So that's how I happened to be on KP. Of course, before that all happened, I was on KP as punishment quite often. Yes, dear.
Thank you for your service and your sacrifice. I just have a question about what did you do for the rest of the time during the World War II? And also, how long did you stay in after that?
I gave 6 years of my life to the military, and shortly after the attack, I'd say maybe 6 or 8 months, I transferred up to Army Air Corps Supply, and that's where I spent the rest of the war, supplying stuff for the different squadrons, airplanes, personal flying equipment, so forth. Oh, okay. So anybody else have anything to say?
You got another question?
Okay.
I'm also looking for any advice you might have for any of our other veterans that are dealing with, back in your day it was called shell shock, but PTSD.
I do not know of anyone that had shell shock. I'm sure there was people that had, what do they call it, post-stress?
PTSD.
I never knew of that in World War II. If there was, I just didn't know about it. I never met anybody that had it.
So did you not have flashbacks or nightmares or any of that from what you witnessed and saw?
Very seldom. I was never bothered with it.
Mr. Hall, I just want to let you know, this is Ruth Kirkman you're talking to. She is a combat veteran. She's in the...
Oh, she is? Well, congratulations to you, my dear, for surviving. Thank you.
And I'd like to introduce, most of you know who he is. This is Mayor Oscar Goodman, and these are his showgirls. He didn't bring you one.
You have to survive Pearl Harbor to be able to get away with that.
Frank.
Yes, sir.
I should be at the lodge, I'm drinking too much.
Oh, is that it?
That's it.
Well, you didn't bring me one.
You're welcome to mine, sir.
No, I wouldn't take it away from you.
Okay, that's great. Well, this is great being here. My wife wanted to come in the worst way, but she's conducting a city council meeting today, so she wasn't able to break away. But we have some proclamations that I'd like to bring to everybody's attention. Let's see what we have here.
Why don't you come up on stage?
Up on stage, all right?
Yeah.
Girls, you get ready? All right, excellent. Very good. Everybody could hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's interesting because this is the Ruptured Duck Award. When we were driving in here, if you look at the park across the street, you'll see several ruptured ducks and a couple of ruptured geese as well. But this is, let me read this out loud. This is interesting, okay? Why don't you have a seat? Make yourself at home.
I'm fine.
I know you're fine. You're embarrassing me with the way you're standing up so straight. Here we go. The Honorable Service Lapel Button, sometimes called the Honorable Discharge Lapel Button, or Ruptured Duck, was issued to military personnel when they were honorably discharged during World War II. The sculptor Anthony D. Francisci designed the award in 1939 and consists of an eagle perched within a ring composed of a chief and 13 vertical stripes. The button was issued between September 1939 and December 1946 and made of gilt brass except during wartime metal shortages when it and enlisted hat insignias were made of gilt plastic. The plastic versions wore poorly and were generally exchanged for brass versions. The award was commonly called the Ruptured Duck by veterans because the eagle faced to the right-hand side, which was the same direction that doctors instructed inductees to face when told to cough during an examination for ruptures, which I think all the men in the room can appreciate that. And the term was an in-joke among veterans since no civilians went through an induction examination. I'm not going to read anymore. This is a little salacious. I thought this was going to be a legitimate proceeding here today. Oh, okay, then I'll keep on going. The ruptured duck term became slang to refer to discharged veterans wearing the award, as in, quote, that ruptured duck is flying space available, end quote. Since discharged veterans were in a hurry to return home, the term later came into use describing somebody in a hurry, such as the expression, he took off like a ruptured duck. The discharge button was also embroidered as a gold-colored cloth lozenger and sewn on the right breast of the veteran's uniform, allowing them to wear their uniform for up to a month after discharge to declare that they were not AWOL. Many veterans wore the pin on their civilian lapels for years after the war's end as visible proof of their service. The pin is usually signified on the veteran's DD-214 by the term lapel button issued at the bottom of the paper in the remarks section. Oh, that's great. And we have today a presentation of the, I assume, the Ruptured Duck Award. Okay, and this is presented to Ed Hall, Pearl Harbor Survivor, 75th anniversary, December 7th, 1941 to December 7th, 2016. And it says, very simply, but from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for your service. Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. Now, this is a special one. This is from the boss, Carolyn Goodman, Mayor of the City of Las Vegas, December 7th, 2016, and she says, in honor, gratitude, and recognition of Ed Hall for answering Liberty's call and being a member of the greatest generation, thank you for your service at Pearl Harbor as we commemorate the solemn 75th anniversary of the Day of Infamy. Your contributions to freedom and our nation will never be forgotten and will forever be celebrated in Las Vegas and our country. Signed by my dear wife, who really means it. Thank you. That's great, and we have a check for you, Ed, in the amount of $25,000. No. What happened? Who took the check?
See, that's a politician for you. Promises.
Oh boy, I don't know who took that check, but it was written in good spirit, I'll tell you that. And when I spend it down in Cancun, I'll be thinking of you every single moment. Well, that's great.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate these little awards. And it's just absolutely great that you're here to present these.
I appreciate that.
And I certainly am pleased to meet you again.
Right.
And I hope to see you, you know where.
Right. Next year, right here.
He was talking about the beer hall later.
We'll be down there. We'll get out there.
I hope.
Yeah, I promise you that.
Yeah, we all love.
That's a promise. I'll be there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for having us here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And thank you, girls, for coming.
Yes, thank you. Y'all dressed it up. Mr. Mayor, would you like a donut? We have 75th anniversary donuts if you'd like one.
Will you do that with Dan? I'm gonna get it.
We have donuts.
Who's gonna have a donut when you can drink a martini?
They go well.
Don't stop, don't stop.
I will inform you, he's been divorced 5 times.
No, you got that wrong.
6.
No.
She could be number 6.
I outlived 3
Okay.
and divorced 2.
Okay, so 5 wives, he's on number 6, looking for her. Are you available?
So, that's,
She's married. Next.
I love it.
If you want to come up and take a picture with him, I'm sure he'll do selfies and look at his book and his awards and everything else. Thank you so much.
Wise men say